I want to dive into this Bach C major
Yeah,
because
yeah,
normally on most competitions they don't require you to perform the entire sonata. They normally, as like if it's a sonata, it's just like the first movement and then the fugue, And for those of you who are not familiar with the Bach sonatas and partitas, highly recommend that you listen to them. I know we have some beginners who listen on the Violin Podcast, some amateurs, and also some professional violinists and teachers.
yeah,
But the boxing major is very dear to me because um, I remember back in school, my teacher told me, "You're going to memorize this C major fugue. You have a good memory, you're going to perform it." I go, "Wait, it's like 7, 8 pages long. What are you talking about?" Right?
yeah. Oh my
And,
god.
I know how difficult it is. So, and not to mention, if I read correctly, you also had COVID during the
Yeah,
pandemic. Not the pandemic, but during the competition.
yeah.
So you played the boxing
Yeah.
major with COVID and recovering from COVID. So talk us through what was going on when you found out you got the test result of COVID and you have to perform this competition. Not to mention this fugue, which is just a
And yeah,
gargantuan movement. Yeah.
no. Um, it was, I mean, this whole journey was just so crazy. So I never got COVID this entire time when this whole pandemic started. And the first time I get it would be opening ceremony day of Indianapolis, of course. Um, yeah. And I mean, I don't know. Probably got it at the airport or something, even though I was wearing my mask and being cautious the whole time. You just don't know with these things. But anyway, um, yeah, the day before I tested, I started getting, like, a scratchy throat, and I was like, "Well, maybe it's because I had spicy food the day before," and I was like, "There's yeah, probably that's what happened." Just it didn't even cross my mind that this could be a possibility because I know I was being cautious, and I don't know, just I haven't gotten it at all, so I just didn't think about it, and then on opening ceremony day, we all because there was supposed to be, like, a nice gala and we were all supposed to get dressed up and go and have a nice dinner with everyone, but and early that day I was supposed to rehearse with my pianist. This was on a Friday, and first round begins on Sunday and goes all the way to Wednesday, just to give you a little bit of a reference. And on Friday I was like, "Wait, I felt really warm last night, and I think I might like, my temperature probably rose." So I was like, "Let me just double check." So I took the COVID test and yeah, lo and behold, it was positive, and I freaked out. I mean, I was my the first thought that came to my mind was whether or not I just have to go home now because, there's yeah, I just my worst nightmare would be like, okay, I had prepared like 9 months for this competition and I get COVID and then I have to go home. So I called the executive director, Glenn Kwok, and I said that I have COVID. And I was like begging him, I was like, can I please still play though? Like, please don't send me home. Um, and so this was Friday, and he said, well, you just basically made the cut because you need a 5-day quarantine. Um, and so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, sorry, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Wednesday was the last day of first rounds. So he basically moved me to the last participant um, of everybody. So I played Wednesday night at like 7 p.m. Um, and so that would have just fulfilled the 5-day requirement. And
That must have been mentally exhausting for you. For I can only imagine that you have all this, pressure of getting ready for 9 to 10 months, and then you're like one of the last participants of the first round. Man, that was um
yeah,
that's next level. But no, good, really awesome. It just shows how like you have to be mentally fit for these kind of competitions too, because anything can kind of go your way. And that's something that I teach my students, Trina, that like one day you're not going to have the luxury of warming up, right?
oh my
You don't,
God.
and I
Yeah.
want you to speak to the student. I want you to speak to my students right now how important it is to be prepared all the time.
Well,
Because this is like proof.
yeah, no, no, no. This is actually a really good point because um, preparing, especially for this first round, because I know personally, I felt that this first round was in many ways the most demanding round. I mean, playing the two movements of the Bach and the Paganini, two Paganinis, and the Mozart sonata. Um, and also it included a short encore piece. But it was mainly like the unaccompanied works back to back that was like with no rest at all. It's just like it's so demanding and you need so much concentration in order to prepare for it. I woke up at like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. For the week before the competition, and without warming up, just playing through the entire first round. Um, and I would just, yeah. So the point of that is to not warm up, to play, and to see where you're at, because that's where your real like level is. Because when you warm up and your violin sounds good after a couple hours, like that's not as accurate. It's like, okay, if without warming up you can sound like this, and you try to raise that bar, then you know that when you're actually performing with a little bit more adrenaline, and you probably would have warmed up a little bit, um, then it's only going to add from there. So, but to always raise that bar, to know where your like basic line is with these pieces, I tend to find it very helpful to just kind of run through these pieces, especially before like a big performance, run it through, and in a situation where it feels very uncomfortable. And if you can play well under those circumstances, then you'll be okay. It's also, it builds your confidence with these pieces